Hello, welcome to another edition of Extra Connections Special Spotlight. I'm James Lott Jr., your host, and so while my show is on hiatus because the studio's closed, I'm doing these specials with people you should connect with. And I have a person who I like so much. We met at an industry event and totally hit it off, and he's a super nice guy, and I'm very dedicated to his craft. He's a trap violinist. You're like, did you hear that correctly? Yes, you did. You heard that correctly. And we're going to talk about that and a few other things and get to know him a little better. But he goes, so his real name is Zac Clejan, but he goes by Clejan, the violinist. Hi, Zac.
Hello, James. Thank you for having me.
And he's coming from Lake Tahoe right now, so he's quarantining okay, apparently.
Yes, cannot complain out here.
But how has it been? Because you're creative like I am. How has it been, this whole, everything got shut down publicly, guys? I mean, we can't do anything in public. But that, what's it been like for you as a creative?
It's been, I mean, there's ups and downs to this, pros and cons. I mean, the immediate cons are all of my live gigs got canceled.
Yes.
So the gigs that I was planning on, like paying my rent with and making my music with, they are canceled for now. So that was unfortunate. But the good news was I had already done like some really great gigs at the beginning of the year. So I'm like, I'm not in trouble yet. I'm still like being able to work and be okay and comfortable and everything. So that's good. And then luckily enough, actually, my roommate and I had just finished building a home studio, like not only like a music studio, but actually a video production studio as well, like in our house.
Wow.
So it's amazing. We live in a house with 4 other LA people my age and a lot of us in the creative industry. So it's been actually more fun than it probably should be right now because we're all cooped up in there and able to just like create and, be quarantined together and, we're also having fun. And so it's actually been kind of great for me anyways, just in the grand scheme of things, because this year I wanted to lock in anyways and just like focus as much as I can on learning as much as I can about this craft I'm pursuing. So I've been at the computer like 12 hours a day, watching YouTube videos, playing music, recording music, writing music, planning music videos, shooting music videos, just like talking about content and how we're going to do the next big thing. So it's been honestly overall a positive experience, but still very tough to know that people are struggling with it way more than me and us, and actually are like dealing with some really, really difficult things. So it's hard, it's hard to know how to feel.
I can relate with you. I'm very fortunate. I have a huge house with a huge yard. I'm okay kind of financially at the moment. I'm doing okay. So I know how you feel. So it's like we recognize how blessed we are in situations. We feel for those who have it worse off than we do.
For sure.
I get what you're saying. I feel the same way. But funny for you is like, luckily you get to do this time to kind of reevaluate, like I said, lock down, kind of focus in. What do I want to do? What do I want to do next? I want to do this, and then still be creative. This is the time you have all this time. I mean, you can do it now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I needed to learn a new skill. I mean, and so I'm learning music production more than I ever have before, and I'm really, really focusing as much of my time on that because I think that'll be the most beneficial to my career as a musician and artist.
Good man, very smart, very smart. Okay, so I want to talk about the violin.
Let's talk about it.
All right, so we both are musicians. So he's asked me off camera what I do. So I'm releasing my fifth album. Well, I can't believe it. Get more comfortable out there in Lake Tahoe. Get more comfortable. It's just too warm, isn't it, over there? It's just too warm.
That's what I thought, The hat stays on for now, though.
That's for now. We all got crazy hair. My hair usually is shaved. But no, so I put out, my fifth album is coming out called Safety in Numbers, my Graham the Third Dimension. And I do spoken word sets of music. So I had some idols of mine who did that stuff, and I don't call myself a rapper. I mean, it's been debate. Like, are you a rapper? I don't think I'm a rapper. I'm a spoken word poet anyway. I have books out, that's what I do. But someone said you should set it to music. And so I do play, you see my keyboard, I do play instruments, stuff like that. I have a drum thing. But I found producers were like, James, let's put it to music. So I've been very fortunate, and over 5 albums and some singles, putting out music. And I do sing a little bit on some of the songs, but mostly it's me talking, a little different than this, but talking to dance music, R&B music. I want to tell you this. I did an album. I'm very proud of this album. My second album I did with an orchestra. I'm one of the few people to do a spoken word album with an orchestra backing.
That's amazing. A, and B, I'm sure you've heard this before, but your voice is probably amazing for that. I need to listen to more of it because you have a wonderful voice.
Thank you, thank you. I'm very fortunate. I got a voice. I do voiceover work and stuff, but that was kind of the thing. It was like standing in front of an orchestra. We recorded it live, which you don't always get to do, as you know this. You don't always get to do that. Usually, it's you do your part, you do your part, you do your part, and yeah, they did some stuff in the editing, post whatever. But for the most part, we practiced and they practiced, and I stood in a booth behind, with the orchestra behind me, and did 11 songs.
That's really cool.
I cried a couple times.
I'm sure.
I really did.
That's a big experience. What the hell?
Rip, because I love orchestra, I love jazz, and so I gained a whole new fan base of people that wouldn't listen to my dance music. They're just like, oh my god! Like older people started liking my deep voice and the strings. So I'm going to ask you a question: Can the violin be sexy? Can it be versatile? Can it be gangsta? I mean, tell me, what can the violin do?
The violin can do anything, James. The violin is there's a reason it's the most played instrument in the world. There's a reason it has been around since we can remember in classical music. Like the violin there's a reason it's continued to be in every genre of music since. I mean, I'm sure there's some without it, but every mainstream genre, they bring the violin back. Every now and then there's a little resurgence. It comes back and you hear it in a mainstream song, or obviously it's all over country and a bunch of genres, but people are finding new ways to play instruments in general every day. Shout out Lizzo. And just like the violin is such a unique instrument because it is in a similar frequency range of a voice. So it's the kind of instrument that can take that lead. It can lead a song. It can, give you that same kind of connection that a voice does in music. And, it's really how you play it. And it can be played in so many different ways in so many different genres. And we're kind of like still learning how it can be used. And that's kind of like what I want to do as a musician and as a violinist. I want to show how it can be used differently than it has been used in the past, how it's been used traditionally. And I think it really can do anything. And it depends on who's playing it and how you're playing it. But it's a very versatile instrument.
I played cello in high school.
Nice.
And I liked it. I always want to go back to it. I want to buy a cello one day and go back to it and see what I can do with it. I've been very curious about that. And
you should, man. I mean, if you already have, it's honestly, I feel like it's somewhat like riding a bike. I mean, if you've put in the time before, yes, you'll lose a lot of it over time. But it'll come back quick. I think that's what it did for me. I played my entire life. I started when I was 3, and played in orchestras every year of my life. I was tutored by the second chair in the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra my entire life, and I'm from Atlanta, by the way. Shout out Atlanta. And so I actually left. I put down the violin when I went to school. I went to school for business.
Hey, they can help you. That's all they can help you.
Right. And then I picked it back up afterwards. But yeah.
Well, it's funny because I think of what you said, people playing it differently. I always think of the 2 cellos. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Of course.
They're very popular. And they played it. I heard them when they did Smooth Criminal by Michael Jackson. That was their big thing. I was like, Smooth Criminal is cellos? Oh, my God.
Right.
I started hearing their other things, and you do some covers too. But for you, why do you think, because you were 3 years old, why do you think the violin?
Why? What was the question? Why do I?
Because you were 3 years old, so you were young. But why do you think the violin? As you've been playing it all these years, why is it the violin for you?
So it's really, honestly, it's been a part of my family for every generation that you can go back. Like my family is from like Eastern Europe on my dad's side, and every generation there's been a musician. Most of them have been violinists. So I grew up, watching my dad play violin. I grew up watching my grandfather play piano, and I didn't get to see my dad much, but when I did, it was just something that we always had, bonded over and connected over, no matter like how much time had passed. Because my parents split when I was 3, so I really didn't hang out with them much. But that was just something that kept me connected to my family, and just something that I did enjoy. I also did enjoy it because I was kind of forced to play it, and kind of forced to play like classical music, and forced to be in orchestras where I didn't really vibe that great with directors or. So it's kind of interesting. Like I grew up not really loving the violin, but I was good at it. I mean, I practiced 2 hours a day every day, and put in that the easily those 10,000 hours. So it was just an interesting paradox of being able to play this beautiful music that I did find, you know, like you can't play beautiful music and not be connected to it. Like it did touch my soul, but it just wasn't what I wanted to play. And I didn't realize it then, which is a shame because I would have loved to start this. I mean, I'm glad everything, you know, happened as it did, but it would have been cool to be able to say, you know, I don't have to play it like this. I can play it in a different way. And it took me, you know, 20 years to actually start doing it. And when I did, it was like my flame had been completely poured gasoline over, and I had this tool that I could speak with from my soul and like actually put out music that was what I wanted to voice. So it's been a part of me my entire life. And I've always been of the opinion that I have a voice and I have stories to tell, and I want to, you know, change the world in different ways through those stories. And the violin is just giving me an opportunity to speak and in a voice that can be heard, you know, all over the world, hopefully someday.
When did the flame ignite? Because you said you played it for so long, you had a little detour, you came back. Was it when you came back to it, that's when you were like, you know what, I really do enjoy playing the violin?
When I came back from school, I hadn't picked up a violin in like 3 or 4 years. I mean, maybe once or twice a year, but like, and I started, you know, a corporate job, and I was living in Los Angeles. I didn't really know what I wanted to do yet. I knew I wanted to be in entertainment, but it could have been acting, could have been writing, could have been entrepreneurship. Like, I mean, it's something in LA. And then I just realized that, you know, as I was figuring things out, I realized that something was missing. And I picked up the instrument again, and I was like, you know, it was like one of the first times since I'd put it down that I'd had the time and the interest to pick it up and be like, what can I do with this? What do I want to say with this instrument? Not like what my orchestra teacher handed me on a sheet music, or my private, you know, tutor told me to do a recital for, but like, what do I want to play? And I just started kind of like experimenting and like playing like with the music that I was listening to at the time. And like that first year when I picked it back up and really started experimenting with like different ways of playing and like playing with things that I enjoyed, it was like I had learned a new language that I was already really good at, and a language that could create art. And it was just like, from there I was like, I don't know what it is, but I have to do something with this. And it took a couple years for me to decide to like fully pursue it full time. And during those years I was, you know, making covers and kind of like building a little bit of a brand and really doing more experimenting and deciding if it was really something I wanted to pursue for the rest of my life. And it ended up absolutely being that for me, and I'm so happy it was.
You know, when did you realize that you could play something other than classical music with your violin?
I mean, I always like grew up watching like YouTube violinists. Like D Sharp is one of my idols. Lindsey Sterling is one of my idols. I'm actually reading her book right now.
Oh, yes, I know she is. Yes,
about Lindsey.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I've met D Sharp too. He's the nicest guy. So I knew it was possible growing up, and I can't really tell you why I never really. Maybe it was out of spite for being forced to play this instrument and like forced to play. Like, I don't know why I never really experimented with it too much growing up, and it wasn't until, I mean, I must have done it a few times. I remember I was like watching an HBO show like my last year of college, and it was The Leftovers, and they have this, have you ever seen that?
Yes.
They have this beautiful violin intro. Like, dude, it's so beautiful. And I was like, you know, I could probably play that. I was telling my girlfriend at the time, and she was like, really? Like, I've never even heard you play. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, yeah. And I got out my violin and I like learned it real quick and played it. And it was like it was cool. And I think that kind of like was like, okay, like I could possibly do this. And then when I, you know, moved to LA and started just like experimenting, and I saw that I could actually like, all the skills that I'd learned growing up in classical orchestra and in learning music theory and everything, I could apply that to this music that I was interested in. I'm from Atlanta. Like I hip hop and trap is in my blood. Like I need that stuff to get hype on music, and I got to get hype to music. So like, not all the time, but that's my favorite. So I just learned that as I'm more experimented, I learned that I could find ways to put the violin in this type of music in a way that was unique, in a way that I could literally just sit down and write this music out from my head. And I was like, I was using inspiration too. I was following artists like Izinma, shout out to Izinma, and just other like, violinists who are trying to do this. And Josh Vietti, of course, is an idol growing up as well. But yeah, I mean, it just took me sitting down and actually applying myself and being like, let me try to do this. Let me see what I can do, and doing it consistently, and realizing that I had a passion for it and I had a skill in it, and I could really tell these stories that I wanted to tell in different ways through it. So
It's funny because, I always think back, I'm a little older than you are. Been around the block a few times.
uh-huh.
I look at music and I look at like in the 70s, and I look at people like Barry White, who brought the orchestra and the Philly soul. It brought the orchestra element to disco and the R&B. And it was like, and how it did kind of class it up a little bit, elevated it a little more. Like it was really interesting that before they weren't doing that. It was just, it was drum beats, guitar, keyboards. Then when they add the string, it does do something. I mean, Barry White's deep voice set to strings. I mean, it does. My Last, My Everything, all those songs.
It's such a versatile instrument. It's so easy to be connected to. I really do think it's because it's so similar to a human voice. Like,
I just an interesting thought. I never thought of it before. And also, when you're playing it, I've seen you see some of his YouTube stuff he has out there. He said you're on stage, you're like working it out. Like it becomes part of your body, doesn't it?
It's absolutely. It's just an extension of your body, and it's beautiful. It's an art too to watch people play. And
but do you have to like make sure your chin is strong, your shoulder is strong, your arm is strong. Like, do you have to make sure that's all? I mean, like,
it's a very emotive instrument, and you are using like a lot of. I played a show once for a corporate gig, and I played like 2.5 hours throughout the day, and I had an Apple Watch on. I went 14 miles. I walked 14 miles, and I could burn like 4,500 calories in 2.5 hours of playing. 14 miles, literally just from playing music. Like, so, but that's kind of also what makes me a little different than other violinists and people who like play instruments. Like I'm a very emotive person. Like I have to be jumping around. I have to be like, very animated when I play. And it's an instrument that you can really do that with because you can use everything. Like, and but yeah, it's weird. I found the more I play, the more you have to have this muscle worked out. Like this little thing right here. I've never had to worry about that growing up. Like I've built all the other muscles just from playing my whole life, but like I never played how I play now growing up. So it's like I cramp up like 30, 40 minutes into a set. Like I'll have to like take a second and like play something like chill and like just like drink water for a sec because it's hard. It is hard.
Oh, okay. So let's get into this trap violin. As you mentioned, trap music. If you know what trap music is, look it up. But there's a thing called trap music, and it's big. And I like some of it. I like some of it. I'm not gonna lie. In the club, it sounds good. But so you like trap music. That's one of the genres you like. So now you kind of moved many ways into that with your violin. So how are you incorporating that? How are you doing that?
Yeah. So that's kind of like, obviously like I was, when I was figuring out if I wanted to, how I wanted to do this, I wanted to find ways to differentiate myself as an artist. And I was kind of looking at the space right now, and I saw, Lindsey Sterling, she's like the queen of solo violin artists, like trying to do what I'm trying to do. And she kind of paved her way through EDM and pop. Amazing. I love both those categories. And then, D Sharp, he has his own style. It's hard to compartmentalize him because he does covers of every range, and he has his own blend that he puts on it that's amazing. But I just saw how Lindsey made it to where she did. And I looked around the space for anyone else who had done something similar in hip hop and trap. I found Josh Vietti. He did something similar with hip hop violin. And the big difference between hip hop and trap is trap is much more like, I would say, hard hitting. It's got those big 808s. It's got the triplet hi-hats. It's got just like hard hitting instruments that are in your face. Like hip hop it can be more of like a vibe, a groove. Like you play off the beat a little bit, but like trap is very like freaking in your face. And I hadn't seen anyone really attempt to do that with a violin. I looked and I did my research. I looked and I hadn't really seen. I mean, people might have been trying it, but I didn't think that they were, really hitting it on the bullseye. And then there are people who were doing something similar. Like actually got incredibly inspired by this guy named Raginder. he doesn't know I exist, but
Hey.
he's an Indian American violinist, and he does a lot of like cultural music from India, and India is amazing, by the way. I have a very special place in my heart for that place. But he was using trap beats, and it's not all he did. I just heard this one song called Inferno, and he had used trap beats and then led over them with the violin, and it was the first time I'd really heard anything like that. And I was like, when I heard that, I was like, that is what I trying to do, but in like, you know, for the hip hop and trap culture, like that is what I want to do with the violin. And the second I heard that, I was like, let's dive into this. And from then on, it's just, you know, I linked up with every trap producer I could find. I'm learning as much trap production as I can find, because there is something to this heavy bass that hits really hard, and a violin on top of that. That's so juxtapositional. It's so different. You haven't heard it, but it fits so well in such a cool way that I really think there is a market for it. I really think that there are people who will really enjoy this music, and they'll be able to study to it. They'll be able to work out to it. They'll be able to party to it. And I want to find ways to make it even more different, you know, maybe even adding my vocals, because I'm also a vocalist. And, you know, I did a mixtape in high school. I was a rapper. So I want to find different ways of incorporating not only the trap violin, but my voice as well. And other people, I want to bring in as many artists as I can, singers, rappers, you know, everybody, and bring them around this world of wood and string that I want to create around the violin, because I think it's such a powerful instrument. I think it's a perfect time for it. I think there's another resurgence coming with it, and it can be done in ways that haven't been done before.
See, I'm being inspired. I'm like, you should do one of my dance songs. You're really good. I mean, you're really good. I know
You still with me?
At EDM, I was like, I do dance songs. I'm like, I wonder what his violin was set on one of my dance songs. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's versatile, man. It can go over anything. But
yeah.
Rap, dude, I'm so in the beginning of what I want to do. Like this year is all about just like making this music for me. So I'm excited I'll have a catalog by the end of the year to show exactly what I'm trying to do with this instrument. I have a couple songs on iTunes and Spotify now that are good, like thesis statements. And I'm excited to keep building on them.
I want to tell you, I like your song Focus.
You like Focus?
I love it. I played it.
Amazing. I'm so happy you like it. That warms my heart. That's the first song I've ever put out, you know, as an adult, that had my writing, my rapping, my vision. So that's exciting.
I wrote down so good.
Oh, thank you.
I liked it. I was like, what's this really good? I played it like 3 times this morning. Going, this is really good. I was like, I had it on the background. I was like, okay. I see what he's trying to do. I see him.
Thank you. Shout out to Tobias, the singer on that, really helped make that song what it was. So, and the producers.
That's good. Okay, so right now you're trying to feel out different, because I said you play the violin. Oh, I said, so here's the question. Do you have to have a special violin to play this kind of music?
I mean, no. You can play on any kind of violin. You know, it's just the less higher quality ones are going to sound less higher quality. But you know, with today's digital mixing software, you can really, I feel like you can make any violin sound powerful enough through the right mixing techniques to do what you need to do. But it helps to have a nicer violin for sure. And I have a mid-tier violin from Romania. Actually, my family went to Romania to get it because we're from Romania. Yeah. So I love my violin. His name's Lott Jr.
Hey, I like that. But now, wait a minute, how are the bows and everything? I mean, do you have to restring them a lot? Do you have to after a show? Like, wait, do they fall apart? Do they stay together? How's that work?
So the violin and the bow I mean, again, it depends on the quality that you get in the first place, but they're meant to be instruments that last a long time. Like strings will fade over time. You'll probably have to change your strings like once every couple months, once every 3 months or so. And then bows, like you might have to get them rehaired like maybe once a year, I'd say. But yeah, they're durable instruments, and the way I play them actually degrades their lifeline. I'm like going at it, like slamming my bow and stuff. So I probably have to take my violin to the shop a little more than others, but they're durable. They're durable instruments.
Are you left-handed or right-handed?
Right.
You play right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. So I was thinking, is there any left-handed violin players out there? I wonder.
Yeah, because you can't really play it any other way than this.
Yeah. You mentioned Lizzo, because I was actually going to mention her, saying that, are you happy. You just basically kind of mentioned it earlier. You're happy to see that when she pulls out the flute, and they're like, she's a flautist? Like, what's going on? Like, she was classically trained. Like, she's using it in her music. So that's where you want to go. Okay, you kind of want to be able to like put out these songs that appeal to everybody, but with the violin, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's an artist. She's a true artist. She's a musician. So it's been very inspirational to watch her and watch her success. And people go crazy for that flute. So it's cool. It's just the thing is, it's different. It's just different. And people want to see different. Like, who doesn't want to see something new and different ways of doing things that, hadn't been done that way before. So it's cool. Yeah, it's definitely cool. And Lindsay Sterling got the closest to mainstream you can get. Yeah. And she's done songs with Switchfoot. Like mainstream people and a lot of other people too. But like, no one has, like, Lizzo has gotten the farthest with just like an instrument artist. So like, but the violin, there's no one who hit that bubble. There's space, man. I think there's space for it. I'm going for it.
It's you.
I'm going for it, man. We're gonna give it our best shot,
So, okay, I want to mention this because I actually talked to my buddy Freddie Smith from Days of Our Lives, and he and I both had Bells Palsy, and you said you had it too. I saw last night. So, like, tell me your experience, a little bit about your experience with that. That's why I mentioned it, like, I had it too, or my father had it, or my mother. Like, what was it for you?
Yeah, it's crazy. I saw that like last night and commented to you about it. But dude, I got Bells Palsy. I've had a problem with like just like going nonstop. Like, and I still have issues with that. But since my Bells Palsy, I've definitely like learned the virtues of patience and like mental health and like just giving yourself time and space and everything. But yeah, I graduated school in December. I immediately went to New Zealand for 3 weeks, backpacked around New Zealand. I immediately went to Europe after that, and I backpacked around Europe for 2 months with a travel partner. Shout out Rachel. And then I immediately moved to LA. And then the next day, the next day for moving back to LA, I started a new job. And like, so I just like loaded myself on with like so much change and so much stress, and did not give myself, I didn't give myself 24 hours of just like decompression for like 3.5, 4 months. Cause even when I was starting my job and my mom came to visit me, and it was just like a lot, like 4 months straight total of like not resting once. And then like I had planned this Vegas trip for my friend at the time for his birthday at the end of like my second month in LA. And I was like, my first month in LA, I was like, that's when I'm going to decompress. Like, we're going to make it there, and then we're going to party. And just like, after that, we're going to, settle in and everything. Driving down to Vegas, my face starts to feel weird. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on. Like, my face is feeling weird. And my friend's like, oh, like, don't worry about it. Let's just party and figure it out tomorrow. So the next day I woke up with half a paralyzed face.
Which side?
I thought I had a stroke.
Yeah, which side?
Left.
Like mine, left side. Yeah.
Yeah, I literally woke up, went to like the mirror. We've been up all night, of course, partying. And I just like looked at the mirror and I was like, okay, like I can't move half my face. Like something's wrong. And then just like, went to the emergency room, and they gave me some facial steroids and found out I had Bell's palsy. And then that was I'm sure you've been through it too. That was a hell of a 6 to 8 weeks recovery. Like, not fun. I was like hermited in my room and still meeting all these people from the new city I moved to. I had to wear like an eye patch at certain points.
Yes. All right. Yes.
But I have a cool story to how I got out of it, if you want to hear it.
We want to hear it, of course. Please. Let's want to hear it.
True story. And then, take this how you will. But 6 weeks in, I'm in the backyard with my roommates. We're just trying to have a lazy Sunday. I had this chocolate bar edible that I hadn't eaten yet. And I was like, let's eat a little edible and just relax today. Ate this edible, I started feeling it, and I went to the bathroom. I was like, I'm gonna try something. And I'm in the bathroom by myself. I'm like pretty high. And I like look in the bathroom mirror and like look at myself. And I'm like, I'm just gonna see what happens. And I literally like, this is what I did in my brain. I jumped into my own head and like traversed through my nerve canals. Have you ever seen the Spider-Man movie? It's the opening.
Oh yeah.
I was like jumping through nerve, because Bell's palsy, like it's like the 7th nerve in your back of your head gets disconnected or something. Exactly. I literally like in my head traversed these nerve canals, like found where this nerve was disconnected, like visually in my head, like, and like zapped it like a bunch of times and like till it connected again. And then I like came out and my lip twitched on the left side. My lip twitched. 6 weeks of not moving at all, and my lip twitched. And I like ran outside to my roommates. I was like, guys, look at this. Is this in my head or what's happening? And I twitched my lip, and everyone cheered. And then like 2 weeks later, like it was just from there on like a gradual healing process. Like, and 2 weeks later, I was like 85% back to normal. And then like, you know, it took a little bit of time after that to get 100%. But that was it's just a cool example of like, you know, the power of the mind and the body. Like, obviously, who knows what really happened, but like placebo effect or not, like something happened there, and I actually was able to move my mouth.
No, I'm gonna tell you. No, I was gonna say that's the power of the mind. And I think for some of us who went through, I went through a lot longer than you did. Actually, I had a more very severe. You saw my face; it was like totally looked like a pirate. It's like totally one side, like you know, kind of weird.
Yeah.
And for me, because I had nothing, I couldn't do anything else. I did a lot of research. So I started eating certain vitamins for inflammation. I started not eating certain things. I did rest, because that was like that was a big thing. So you need to rest. That whole your brain is gone. Like you said, I was doing 8 million things, and I feel like I started getting better because I started really thinking I'm going to get better now. We're gonna do this. We gotta think positive. I can't just add more negative stuff into my brain, where that's where the stuff's happening, is in your brain.
Yeah.
So it kind of like me, it kind of connected somehow.
Yeah.
I like to be a good edible every once in a while. I didn't do that when I was doing that time, but I had certain teas I drank. I mean, I feel like your whole point is just that you were trying to connect with yourself.
Yeah.
That's how you started to get better.
That the mind and body connection is so powerful.
I agree with that. I really do agree with that. So I mean, it's just, but yeah, you know how it is, the isolation, the just kind of that you can't really do much.
Yeah.
Hard to eat. It's hard to chew.
Yeah.
It's hard to talk. I mean, it's like it's the strangest thing.
Yeah, I used to eat lunch in like my bathroom stall because I couldn't keep anything in my fucking mouth.
Right. It's so weird. And also, it's weird thing is how it comes on. Because like for me, the same thing. I woke up going, I couldn't spit.
Yeah.
I was trying to brush my teeth, and things were just drooling. It was just drooling out. I'm like,
something's
hurt. Right. And it doesn't even hurt at first. Like, it doesn't even hurt. It's just kind of like, my face is paralyzed. And I just watched it just literally go down. But it was my left side also. But we think it's because of stress. Literally because you're just doing too much. Your brain says, done. Like we're gonna stop you, give you a timeout.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like. It felt like my brain was telling me, don't do that again. Like,
yeah. So I'm glad you're better.
Yeah, me too, man.
Better too. Well, you're the best, Zach. I mean, you are so. I mean, the thing when we connected on person, you're just so personable and so friendly and so nice. I think that's going to get you somewhere. That's part of the battle.
Thank you. Yeah, I owe a lot of that to the South. Honestly,
I like it. Hey, I like it.
Very hospitable, and honestly, a lot of good people helped bring me to the person I am today. So I owe a lot to everybody else. But you know, you're amazing too. I'm happy we get to connect.
Yes, and we'll connect again, of course. I mean, you're not getting rid of me that easily. Not easy. But tell folks actually where they can find you and all your stuff, and we'll just promote you. Let's do that.
Yeah, I would say firstly go to all the regular stations. I'm on Spotify, I'm on iTunes, I'm on YouTube. You can just search Clejan, which is Clejan, and your boy will come up. Actually, half of what I do is visual art as well. So the first half is music, of course, but I want to do a lot of what Lindsey Sterling did and actually provide visual depictions of the music I create in different ways. So I'm making a bunch of music videos. I star in them. I bring other people to star in them. I put a production behind it, and we're really trying to tell narrative stories that give a positive message and try to make do our little part to make the world a better place and us as humans better people, and just learn more about ourselves and about the current states of affairs of the world and just like where we are as a human, in this crazy life. So, but yeah, find me anywhere, Clejan Clejan, and join the family, man. I love everyone who, follows me. I definitely trying to stay connected to everybody and keep working and collaborating as much as possible. So I'm just trying to create art, man.
And I will post on our pages, the Issue Connections page on Facebook, and of course where I'm at, James Lott Jr., where all James Jr.'s are sold, at James Lott Jr., and all social media platforms. I'm everywhere, of course. And I'll post some of his stuff on there too. And I think I posted one of your things on my story the other day. But I'll post more stuff of his. So you guys see what he's doing. It's very, very interesting. He does a Game of Thrones remake. I think I saw part of that on your YouTube. Was it on your YouTube? Did you do that? I think you did that, didn't you?
Yeah, that was so fun.
That's like I like how.
Yeah, definitely. That was.
I was a Game of Thrones person, so I was like, oh, let me look at that. So I was like, Yeah, so he's doing all kinds of stuff, and maybe one day maybe we'll have a song together one day. Who knows? Right? It'll be
Who
clever.
knows? Who knows?
For the future. And I'm James Lott Jr. So thanks for watching us. Please, everybody, please stay safe and sane. I know it's a difficult time, but we will get through it. We will. And check out artists like him and all of us out there who are putting out music and putting out videos, because we're here for you.